Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast and Building Winners Week 2. So much to go over. We have heartbreaks, we have come from behind wins, we've got spicy ads and drops. There's literally everything. I'm going to talk about Gostisbehere, who I dropped in 2 leagues. A lot of people have been asking about Gostisbehere, and I'm going to go over exactly why I dropped Gostisbehere. And we've also gotten a lot of Dubnyk questions, and I picked up Dubnyk this week, so we're going to talk about him as well. So there's a lot to go over. Let's start first in Hawkrust, where we finished 7-3-0. Look at that. That's a pretty good finish, and that is good enough for first place. So let's first go over, of course, who is the MVP of the week, and that is going to be none other than Dougie Hamilton. He had a fantastic week, absolutely crushed. I didn't expect, when I said I had a ton of shares in Dougie Hamilton, did not expect this, but going over his stats really quick: 4 goals, 4 assists, 6 PIMs, 3 power play points, 19 shots on goal, 4 hits, and 8 blocks. That is a monstrous week for him. Absolutely fantastic. So my team crushed. If you remember last time that we did this show, I was in a little bit of a hole. I think I was actually down 6-3 if I remember correctly, or something like that. And what I pretty much said was, look, I have starts on the person. I'm not worried. And what ended up happening, ended up first in goals, second in assists, but there were 3 teams tied with 41 assists. I got 39, so that's pretty good. Ended up coming back in PIMs, which is fantastic. Crushed in power play points. 26 power play points is just insanity. And so really, when I come down and look at where those power play points are coming from, I don't think I get 4 from Olofsson, of course. I think, Buffalo is a little over-indexed there. Dougie Hamilton got 3, which is actually great. That's not too over-indexed. And what I like is that when you look at my team, it's actually pretty balanced from a power play point perspective. The one that stands out to me is Svechnikov. He's not going to get me 8 points, obviously, in that many games, but Svech with 17 shots on goal and 10 hits through his games is pretty fantastic. And of course, Dustin Brown is doing pretty well as well. And of course, remember that we dropped Radko Gudas during the week. Other than that, we made no other moves. Markstrom is out, so I'm going to need to make an ad for this week, but I'm going to go over in a second who I'm kind of targeting there. So aside from that, blocks did well. I'm actually impressed with how my hits kind of came back. I was really low in hits, and some point in the middle of the week, I was like, this is not good. I might have punted hits without even meaning to, but I actually came back pretty strong, so I'm not too worried. My goaltending was disappointing, to say the least. A lot of that had to do with Dubnyk not doing well. I also guys just didn't show up for me. Dubnyk, of course, his awful performance, but we'll talk about why I pick up Dubnyk and why I'm not too worried about him in a second. And then we have Jacob Markstrom, who did fantastic, but just wasn't enough to actually hold up everybody. And then Philip Grubauer, of course, with the 918. So really what brought me down here was just that Dubnyk games. Those Dubnyk games crushed me. What I really should have done is I probably should have benched him in these 2 matchups, but I didn't, and it kind of cost me a little bit. So I lost in goaltending stats. I could have done better than I should have. I still got the wins, which is what matters. So I did get one of the 2 goaltending categories, which is usually what I like to do. And quite frankly, like from a goals against average perspective, I wasn't too far off. It was really just the save percentage. So I'm going to have to hope that I do better this week in that. So looking at this week's matchup, I played Brandon. So it's going to be a big matchup. He's 6-4-0, as you can see above always in next opponent record. So he's 6-4-0, finished 4th. He's pretty strong in quite a few areas. If we go to his team and see his matchup from last week, let's go over to his matchup last week. Can I do that from here? I cannot. 1 second. So let's go to the league, take a look at Brandon, the matchup here. He played Gritty. So he was really high. He was second in goals to me, but I beat him by 4. He got 41 assists, so up on me by 2. And then he did pretty well in PIMs. I would have beat him there. Power play points, I think I can crush him in. I think shots are going to be somewhat competitive. I can maybe catch him. I doubt I catch him on hits. He has so many hitters. He's got Timo Meier. He's got Brady Tkachuk. He's got Chernak. He's got Darnell Nurse. He's got Dumba. Line Wheeler. Like, everyone hits on his team. So there's a good chance that I don't win hits. I don't think I'm even going to chase it. When I look at my pickup that I'm going to get a few extra games out of with Markstrom out, I'm not going to target someone that hits. I'm going to target someone with points and shots on goal, because quite frankly, against Brandon, there's no point. And this is kind of what it comes down to, right? In a Cats matchup, is chase what you can. Don't necessarily chase something that you can't reach. So of course, maybe there's a guy out there with a really good ranking who gets a lot of hits, but the problem is I can't catch Brandon and hit, so there's no real point in going after that. His goaltending was pretty similar to mine last week. I would have beat him in wins. He would have just slightly edged me out in save percentage. And if you look at this week, he has Vasilevsky, so you never know what might happen. But I think he has pretty tough matchups in Montreal, Boston, and Colorado. Boston, Montreal, of course, being away, and he's got Colorado at home. So those aren't easy matchups for Vasilevsky, and quite frankly, Tampa Bay, has not looked that good. So I think there's a chance that I can steal some goaltending cats from him. Moving on to Varlamov. Varlamov has been fine. We still don't know who Varlamov is in net. He's a 905-315. And he had this one bad game against Edmonton, but it stood strong against Florida and Washington. So more likely than not, he will be kind of flip-flopping in and out with Greiss. So I'm guessing Greiss gets the St. Louis game, although we'll see. And then he probably will get Winnipeg and Arizona, perhaps. Although Arizona doesn't fall under this matchup, I'm pretty sure. So really, it's only these two games. So he'll only get probably, I would guess, one Varlamov game unless Greiss sucks. So I don't think I have to worry too much about Varlamov. So Brandon's probably going to come down to about 4 games of goaltending. So I should be able to take him in wins too, especially if Markstrom comes back at some point in the middle of the week. I like Markstrom's schedule this week quite a bit, so I think he can steal a win. So that's Hawkrus. We are in first place. We're doing pretty well. I'm not worried too much about this matchup. I think Brandon and I might split or be like a close 6-4. I think it'll be a close one. I don't think either one of us will really destroy the other. I do think it'll be pretty close. So if we take a look at what I'm eyeing this week for pickups, I know people from my league might end up watching this and sniping my bids or anything like that, but I'd rather just show you guys what I'm thinking here. So the number one, my mic is falling. The number one thing I'm thinking of for this week is Justin Schultz. That's the number one player I'm eyeing. I have an empty roster spot because of Markstrom being out for now, and because I get goaltender starts here. Although I don't think Dubnyk is actually starting against Ottawa, which is a little disappointing because that means he only gets Montreal or Toronto away. Yikes. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't like that one bit. So that's not fantastic. I wish he would have gotten this Ottawa game, but it does not look like he's going to be getting it. I mean, he doesn't deserve it, so I'm not too surprised. But maybe they'll change that, hopefully. But I don't think so. That game actually already started. So anyways, what we're looking at is not having to drop anyone. And what I'd like to do is add Justin Schultz for points tomorrow, which is Tuesday. So that'll give me a few extra starts, and I like Justin Schultz's blocks as well, and has been shooting quite a bit as well, actually. So I think Justin Schultz is my first one. I like Jordan Staal as well from points perspective, although I'm going to take I'm going to take a look at the wire a little bit later and try to find someone that's not Jordan Staal just for points. I want more points and shots. Jordan Staal, if we take a look at his player card here real quick, his shots are good. They're not, I think I can maybe find somebody else, but I like his off nights more than anything. And I mean, playing LA, San Jose, and Anaheim and Columbus, that's a fantastic schedule for me. Like, I would love to get, well, not Columbus doesn't count, but he gets LA, San Jose, and Anaheim. So those games I all want because they're pretty easy for him. So that's why I'm eyeing kind of Jordan Staal. Of course, he gets the hits, but again, I'm not targeting hits in this league. So there you go. This one is good. I don't think we'll have to eye making any kind of ads or anything. There's also not really any benching for me in this league on Saturday, so don't have to worry about that too much. So if we go back over, let's talk about the points league, which there's a lot to talk about in this league because a lot of things happened. For one, I lost. You can see it up above, 171.55 to 176.35. An absolute nail biter, came down to the very final day. Yeah, I was very sad about this one. So let's talk first about who the MVP was, and of course, just like in the other league, that was Dougie Hamilton. I already went over the stats, told you kind of how he did. He was an absolute monster last week. Again, another league where he kind of kept me in it to a large extent, and helped me out a ton. And usually defensemen in this league aren't very valuable, and somehow he was. He got 23.9 points this week. Pretty insane. Surprisingly, the second best player was actually Andrei Kopitar. So, everyone who was telling me in the comments when I drafted that the Kings suck, why would I draft Kopitar and Brown? There you go. That's why. And I benched Dustin Brown on Saturday, I think it was, and that was kind of a disappointment. He sucked. So let's go over first what I did, because if you remember, and this is how far I fell from the projection, which kind of sucks, 191 to 171. Large reason for that happening, Mr. Sergei Bobrovsky, 1.75 points, and he played a lot of games and only got me 1.75 points. Not great. But he does get the game today against New Jersey, so that one's already in place. So we'll talk about the matchup that's coming up soon. So I feel good about where my team's at, but let's talk about what we did, because we did a few interesting things. So the first thing we did was drop Chris Kreider to activate Timo Meier. If you'll remember, I was thinking about who to drop for Timo Meier to activate him from IR+. That ended up being Chris Kreider for a few reasons. One, his minutes are down. His minutes are down to around, if we take a look here at his player card really quick, 16 minutes last game, 14-15 the one before that, 13-51 before, and on top of that, his peripherals, simply because of minutes, like really peripherals from shots on goal, hits and blocks perspective, normally align with your minutes. So the higher your minutes are, the more opportunities you have to get these cumulative peripheral stats. But he's not getting those minutes right now, which means his floor is also way lower. And he's also on top power play, but that second line isn't doing that great. So I thought he was pretty expendable from that perspective. And it was really him with Pierre-Luc Dubois finally playing extended minutes. He's playing around, he played 21 here, 17 here. He had scored a goal, was getting good peripherals again, and he kind of did that yet again. And so I didn't want to drop him. I wanted to hold him just a little bit longer because I think from a minute standpoint, he has more upside, and a deployment standpoint, he has more upside than Kreider. And of course, I wasn't going to drop Dustin Brown because Dustin Brown is in the same situation where he's getting a ton of minutes and really good peripherals as well. And so I liked his situation better than Kreider, so I dropped Kreider. Now, the really, really big move of the week, and this one is, a lot of people are going to laugh at this one, especially after all the goalie talk we've done in the past, but someone dropped Devan Dubnyk, which I thought was insane this early in the year. Devan Dubnyk last year in this league finished 56th overall or something like that. So Devan Dubnyk was dropped, which is shocking. So I had a number one waiver. So I used my number one overall waiver on Devan Dubnyk and dropped Shayne Gostisbehere. Yep, I'm done with Gostisbehere. I am selling Gostisbehere just because it's not pretty. He's not doing well. I mean, let's take a look here at his card really quick so I can go over it. 18 minutes, 17, 19. Fine, I guess. Not what you want to see out of defense. 19 is more promising, but he's third pairing on a pretty crappy third pairing, to be honest. He's not really being utilized in the way that I like. He's not getting peripherals. I mean, literally one shot on goal through 3 games is so bad. And he's top power play, or top power play with Couturier, of course, doing well in that second power play, and no peripherals aside from that. So his floor is awful. I think he's droppable 100%. I just don't see where his value is going to come from, to be honest. I don't. We've seen Alain Vigneault in the past with the Rangers and on Vancouver. He's never really had a good offensive defenseman, and he's kind of stifled offensive defensemen in his past. And it seems to be that he's doing the same thing with Gostisbehere. So not great. I'm over Gostisbehere, to be honest, and I used such a late pick on him. Drafted him in the 11th round. Fine, I can make that up. So now let's talk about, now that we talked about Gostisbehere and why I'm low on him, now let's go to Dubnyk and why I picked him up. So when you compare a guy like Gostisbehere and Dubnyk, right? Gostisbehere is a really low floor. I mean, ridiculously low floor. Defensemen are already not really worth much in this league from a point standpoint. And Gostisbehere's floor is already terrible. And then there's Dubnyk, who has a really high ceiling. Of course, right now his floor sucks. He's only gotten, -5.5, -1.25. So he's been negatives, of course. So he has a low floor as well at the moment, but his ceiling is way higher. I mean, a goalie win. Let's take a look at Markstrom really quick so you get an example. So a 30 save, 2 goal against, 1 win is worth 7 points. That's like 2 goals and an assist pretty much for a defense. Like, look at Barkov. He got 3 assists, 13 shots, and that was worth 7.9 points over a whole week. Dubnyk could get me that in one night. Of course, he has to turn it around, but there are a few things that actually make me think that he could. So one of the things that I like, let me pull up Corsica here, which I already have. Enjoy all the Nike ads. Clearly, you can tell that I like Nadal because I'm getting advertising Nadal hat, Nadal tank top. So there you go. So Devan Dubnyk, take a look at this. So he's played 4 games, right? His save percentage is 8.621. This is his expected save percentage. This is what he should be getting on a good day. And this is all strength. So this is not just 5-on-5. This is including shorthanded. This is including power play, all of that. And so he's at 8.621, and his expected is 9.24. That's 6% difference. Actual percent difference. That's a big deal. Now, then there's 2 ways you can take this, right? The pessimist can say, well, he sucks. That's why he's obviously underperforming, right? Like, he's playing terrible. He's not going to turn this around. Obviously, he's below his expected. He sucks. So that's one take. That's the pessimistic take. The optimistic take, and let me take a quick step back here. The other thing is that Minnesota is actually playing extremely well behind Devan Dubnyk. Let's log in here really quick. I wanted to show you something on HockeyViz. But Minnesota is actually playing really, really well in front of Dubnyk. And so they're limiting a lot of the shots on goal on Dubnyk. So they're making his life relatively easy. So again, the pessimist could very easily say, oh, well, clearly Minnesota's playing well in front of him, so it's all on him. So if we take a look at the opportunities, so if we look at the charts here, let's 5-on-5 with, 5-on-5 without, right? So with Dubnyk in net, the threat levels are minus 20%. What does that mean? So it's 20% below average threat levels, which means he actually doesn't face very hard shots. He has a very easy time in net by this chart. Without Dubnyk, it's even easier. Granted, only 22 minutes when he got pulled, and that's largely because there was already such a high lead that they didn't attack as much. So ignore kind of the without. Let's look at the with only. And so all the shots, you see the red, that's where most of the shots are coming from. So Minnesota is limiting shots to the points pretty much, kind of to the outside over here on this left circle, but nothing right in front of the net. So that, again, the pessimists can say there that, well, they're making his life easy. Dubnyk sucks. The optimist will say, well, there's room there for growth. There's room there for Dubnyk to do better. And he should be doing better. And that's my take. When you watch Dubnyk, it's a mix of Dubnyk not playing as well, maybe a little bit of a confidence thing, and also just there's room there for potential. I mean, so for me, I'm going to take the bet on upside. That's what I'm going to do. And then there's one other little piece of thing that leads me to believe in the optimist theory. The reason that I kind of believe in the optimist theory here for Devan Dubnyk is this. So you look at his low danger save percentage, so shots that are low danger, ones that are, let's say, easy to save, right? The normal kind of save percentage there, the average is around like 98%. That's what most goalies kind of come to the average on in the league. And he's at 100%. So he hasn't let in one easy shot so far all season. That's good. That's promising. He hasn't floundered there. That's good. If he were floundering there, I'd be worried, because then you're telling me, yes, he is screwing up on easy shots. Now you look at the mid-danger save percentage, 86.27. That's a little low. That's normally around like 92-ish%. That's kind of where you want to see that is 92% for the mid-danger save percentage. So yes, he's underachieving a little bit there. And you'd like to see that come up, but he's not that far off. That's fixable. This high danger save percentage is what's screwing him over. 100%. 55% high danger save percentage is nuts. You just don't see that from a goaltender normally. This is normally more, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong here, but I believe this is around like, this might be the 92. This might be more like 96, 94. If I remember correctly, I need to go back and look at that. But this is supposed to be between, I'll say between 89 and like 92, somewhere in that range. And he's a 55. That's nuts. And that's why his goals saved above average isn't lower, is because most of the goals that he's letting in are high danger, meaning they're ones that are hard to stop to begin with. So he needs to fix his high danger save percentage. That to me speaks concentration, as well as a little bit of technique and a little bit of luck. And so that's where I think that can come up. And that is, in my opinion, far more solvable. And it also leads me to believe that Minnesota is letting in opportunities that are very high danger, that are very difficult for him, but that should come up. So I lean the optimist route in that, look, right now, what Devan Dubnyk is doing in this high danger save percentage is wildly unsustainable. He will get better. And so that's why I took the flyer on Devan Dubnyk, and I'm banking on the upside with him. I think Devan Dubnyk can get better. I think there's room for him getting better, and there's signs pointing to me saying, look, there's a lot of room here for him to do better. And normally he does fall within that expected save percentage range. So I expect him to come right back up to that and have a good string of games at some point here. So if we take a look now, let's move on from that. But that's kind of my take on what exactly we're seeing here with Devan Dubnyk. Let's take a look at my matchup for this week and take a look at projections really quick. Oh, so it already started. So you can see that I'm already down. Nice. I got a David Pastrnak goal and a Barkov assist. Seeing this live. I love it. They got a Tarasenko goal, which disappointing. And Bob already got scored on. No Bob hate. I swear I'll ban you from the channel. No Bob hate is allowed on this channel. I love Bob, but he's killing me. Oh, he's killing me. So anyways, I guess I can't show you projections now unless maybe I go, okay, here you go. You see the projections. So I'm supposed to go up by 21 over 102. So right now I also remember that Markstrom is out for a family issue. So I put Markstrom on IR plus, and I picked up Eric Haula, which is going to be added tomorrow to my roster. But I added Eric Haula as a spot start while Markstrom is kind of out until he comes back. And so that should get me a few more points as well. And of course, the center left wing. And as we talked about in the week preview, Carolina has a fantastic schedule this week in LA, San Jose, and Anaheim. So I'll take that. And then probably after this 18th game or 16th game, I can probably swap back in Markstrom if I really need to. And look, going back really quick to this Dubnyk thing. So now when you talk about one other part of this, and I know I've spent a lot of time on this points league, but I think it's important to talk through some of these things. I now have 4 goalies, which is tough. I mean, that means I'll bench quite a few of them, right? But the problem is, not the problem, but my take on it is, one, you never know when a goalie's going to start. And so I actually may get more starts than it seems. The other thing for that to me is that a goalie start is worth way more from an upside perspective. So really what 4 goalies does to me is it lowers my floor. Because of course, if a goalie can get negative, a player can't get negative. So I could get negative points from a goaltender. So my floor gets actually significantly lower, but my upside is way, way higher. I mean, like I said before, right? You see a goal here. Let's say David Pastrnak. A goal is worth 3.2 so far with 2 shots on goal. So that's 3.2. And then you look at like a Carey Price who got me a win with 26 saves. That's 4 points. So normally a goaltender will do pretty well for you. And let's say, he has 1 less goal against, that turns into like 7 or whatever it is. So that becomes way more upside. So I like banking better in leagues like this on the upside of a goaltender doing really well than banking on a pickup skater. Because look, from a skater perspective, the only thing that makes someone worth it is a goal or an assist. Even an assist, 2.2. Sure, I guess. It doesn't do that much for you, right? So even like, for example, when I don't run 4 goaltenders, I'll normally, if I need points, I'll stream a backup goaltender instead because the upside is just there. So in my opinion, right now, I'm taking a bet on upside with Dubnyk. Now, the other part of it here is that it also gives me a ton of flexibility with what to do with goaltenders. For example, I can drop Dubnyk and whatever. I lose nothing. I can drop Markstrom and cool, I have Dubnyk. Let's say Dubnyk turns around. I can drop Markstrom and sure, now I have 3 good goaltenders yet again. The other thing that it opens me up to is trades. Very interesting trades where I can say, sure, let's move any one of these if Dubnyk gets good, right? Let's see what the buyers are for Price. Let's see what the buyers end up being for Bobrovsky or Dubnyk or Markstrom. Like, I can then later on really make a lot of moves. So it gives me a ton of flexibility here. And really what I'm saying is, you know what? Look, I'll eat crow for 2 weeks. I'll see what happens. I might lose out on a few starts, maybe lose a matchup because of it. Just because of a starts perspective and points, but that's okay because it gives me a ton of flexibility to then do things later and potentially even improve my goalie situation going forward. Let's say which I do think Dubnyk is better than Markstrom long term, but who knows? Maybe that's not true. But if anything, it gives me the opportunity. And quite frankly, the upside of Dubnyk is better than anything I'm going to find on the wire from a skater standpoint. So there you go. That's my long explanation of why I picked up Dubnyk, but there's promising signs there. As for Ghost, quite the opposite of promising signs. Okay, so let's go back over to the main screen here and talk about ECFHL, which is the keeper league. Won that one 6-2 to 1. That one was a really good win as well. I was down, had a little bit of comeback there. I was actually not expecting to win 6-2. I was expecting to be only like 5-3 pretty much or something like that. Or 5-4. It was a close matchup towards the end. It was on the last day with Dustin Brown that I actually ended up getting some points that helped me out. So let's go over and talk about first, of course, the MVP and none other than Connor McDavid. Man, did he have himself a week. He played fantastic. He's the 3rd overall player in the league right now over the last 14 days, which is when pretty much the last 2 weeks in matchup kind of went down. And so looking at Connor McDavid, 4 goals, 8 assists, 7 power play points, 15 shots on goal, 3 hits and 1 block. I am so thrilled. Actually, 2nd overall in the league over these last 14 days. So with Connor McDavid behind us, let's talk about here how the matchup went last week. So we crushed in goals, crushed in assists, crushed in power play points, did really well there. We're a little bit behind in shots on goal. Would have liked that to be higher. But unfortunately, it wasn't. I think there's room there for growth. Voracek, for example, I think could shoot a lot more. I'm also a little bit, I'm not liking these shots from Kane. I would have liked to see more shots. Only 2 a game is not what normally you see from Patty Kane. Normally, he's more of like a 4-shot, 3-shot a game kind of guy. And so I want to see that come up. I'm not sure if that's exactly what'll happen. It's a little worrying that he's only shooting 2 a game, but he has been doing well. I mean, you can't ask for point per game right now, so can't ask for more from a guy like Patty Kane. And everyone else is doing pretty well. I think one of the guys maybe on the chopping block is Nico Hischier for this week, but of course, Eric Chernak is doing well. I would like to see some more shots on goal, but doing well in the hits and blocks category, something I need. Brady Tkachuk is, of course, a monster. And then in blocks is the one place where I'm just not that competitive in, so I don't think I'm going to be chasing blocks that much. And we'll talk about in a second how I rank against all the teams compared to last week. And I did this, which was the more impressive thing, the thing I'm more proud of, was the fact that I did this with way less games played. I mean, they had 87 to my 78. That is enormously different. So the fact that I was able to do that with almost 10 games less played is pretty impressive. So I'm proud of how my team did. From a goaltending standpoint, I would like to see Vasilevsky do better, but he did have a really hard start to the week last week. And then Connor Hellebuck has gone God mode. Connor Hellebuck is back, folks. I told you, he is back. I know that the Jets kind of suck on defense, but Connor Hellebuyck's been standing tall. He's the reason they are even like in this season so far. You see that when he's not in net, 4-1, 7-2, 5-1, 5-4, but still a lot. After that first game, he has been rock solid. So whatever he's doing is working, and hopefully he keeps it up because he is crushing for me. So after that, let's take a look here. Like I said, let's take a look at how we did last week, and then we'll talk about the ads that I made because I made one for this week. So we'll talk about that after this. So first in goals, finished kind of fourth in assists, but I'm right there with this top. So 40, 40, and 41. I have 37, so I feel good about that. And then for power play points, top of the league, if I remember correctly, tied for top of the league. And then Shayne's team, the team I played, was 20, so he was second. And if we look at shots on goal, I'm in the middle, but the thing is, there's not that much of a gap towards the bottom, but not that huge a gap. I think I can make up this 183 to 210. I mean, Gostisbehere shot nothing, so that hurts, and I'm going to make that change, which we'll talk about. Then on hits as well, so the peripherals, hits I'd like to be higher. A little disappointing that I'm that down there. Blocks, I'm like literally blast. So blocks, I'm not going to be competitive. I will not be chasing blocks. I'll be chasing hits and shots on goal. Those are the two. And then from goaltender's perspective, I mean, first in saves by a wide margin, or actually second. Wow, I didn't expect to finish second, but they had to stream, so that's why their save percentage is so low. They don't have starting goaltenders, so this helps me. So I'm not too worried about saves. I think I can get wins pretty consistently. I think I can get saves pretty consistently. Shockingly, the most wins was 8. Just crazy. So I think I feel good about my save percentage and my saves. So those are two cats. I feel good about my goalie categories. And then, of course, the ones I'm going to have to chase on the skater side are shots on goal and hits. So let's talk about the moves that I made. So the first one was I dropped Shayne Gostisbehere for Justin Schultz. Added Justin Schultz up. And the reason I added Justin Schultz is I like his long-term upside for the next, 6 to 10 weeks while Malkin is out. So we had him as a long-term pickup candidate on the week preview. And I like a schedule this week. I like his upside, and I like him way more than Gostisbehere. Gostisbehere right now is, well, he's garbage. I went over that in the last league, so no reason to go over it here. But especially in a Cats league where peripherals matter even more, I really don't want Ghost. There's just no upside. And of course, he hasn't been grabbed. And that's the other thing is Ghost is one of those guys that right now people are dropping, and no one's rushing to grab him. So who cares? You can, if you pay attention to him, you can grab him for upside. Now, for an ad this week, I do have Jacob Markstrom on my IR Plus, so I need to make an ad. I'm eyeing Jordan Stahl, potentially eyeing someone like Zaitsev. I think I want to chase shots a little bit more, although in this league, I actually probably can go, or this matchup rather, I probably can go after blocks. The person I'm playing, of course, the game's already started while I'm doing this, but I think I can probably get blocks against this team. They had really low blocks last week. So I think I can chase blocks just a little bit in this league and potentially get it. So we'll see how that works out. But I'm feeling good about it. We're in third place, looking good. My team, I think, has a lot of upside. I'm right there, kind of close to first and second. Of course, it's only 1 week, but we're close there. So I'm feeling pretty good. There hasn't been any crazy drops yet. Of course, here's mine for Shayne Gostisbehere for Justin Schultz, $13 waiver. I actually don't know if anyone bid outside of me. It might have been just me, to be honest. I'll have to take a look at that later. But yeah, so there you go. So look, we're doing well. I'm not too worried. Hopefully this helped you out. If you have any questions related to some of the guys that I added or dropped, leave them down in the comments. Also, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you get alerts for this episode and all the other episodes we do during the week. Other than that, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in to Building Winners, and perhaps tell me what team you like the most down below. Thanks for watching. See you next week.